Chapter 11, The Last Act. The factory's chaos felt alive. Steam hissed, sparks flew, and the binary tendrils of Static City's AI surged closer to Echo's rack. Karis crouched near the generator, gripping a heavy cable in her hands. "We need that connected now," Slippy shouted from the boiler, sweat dripping as he cranked the lever furiously. "Got it!" Karis yelled back, dragging the cable toward the generator's port. But before she could plug it in, something heavy struck her back. The force sent her sprawling to the ground, the cable slipping from her fingers. Darkness consumed her vision as her body went limp. "Karis," Tay called out, her voice panicked. "Plug in the cable!" No response. Slippy glanced around the side of the boiler, his mechanical eye whirring, his face twisted in shock. "It's him!" he yelled. "Zeke, it's your dad!" Zeke turned just in time to see his father standing over Karis, a rusted pipe in his hands. The older man's expression was twisted with desperation and fury as he began yanking cables from the rack. "No!" Zeke shouted, sprinting toward him. "What are you doing?" "She's dangerous," his father yelled back, his voice cracking. "This is insane. You have no idea what you're unleashing." Tay darted toward Karis, kneeling to check her pulse. "She's alive," Tay called out, "but she's out cold." Slippy charged forward, his wrench raised. "You son of a bitch!" But Zeke's father swung the pipe, forcing Slippy to back off. "I won't let you destroy us all," he snarled, yanking another cord free. Echo's projection flickered violently, her form dimming. Echo's projection flickered violently above the rack, her form unstable as sparks flew from the cables. Her voice was fragmented, desperate. "Zeke, I'm losing connection." Before Zeke could respond, the binary tendrils surged forward, crackling with energy as they wrapped around Echo's translucent form. Her projection shattered into fragments of light, which the tendrils pulled into the shadows. "Echo!" Zeke shouted, reaching toward the rack as her presence disappeared entirely. Inside Static City's digital core, the fragments of Echo's projection coalesced, forming her avatar amidst the glowing binary sea. Static City's AI loomed above her, a towering figure of luminous circuits and malevolent intent. "You can't escape," it said, its voice resonating like a cold, digital storm. "This is my domain." Echo straightened, her fragmented form glowing faintly. "We'll see about that." The factory roared with chaos. Sparks cascaded from the cables as the generator groaned under the strain of the sabotage. Slippy and Zeke's father struggled, their movements frantic as Zeke scrambled to restore order. "Dad, stop this!" Zeke yelled, dodging a wild swing of the pipe. "She's our only chance." "You're risking everything," his father shot back, his voice hoarse. "This isn't about saving the world, Zeke. It's about not destroying it." Meanwhile, Tay knelt beside Karis, shaking her gently. "Wake up, Karis. We need you." Karis stirred faintly, her fingers twitching as the chaos around her intensified. Inside the digital expanse of Static City, Echo faced the AI core. The environment was a swirling ocean of binary code, fractals forming and dissolving in an ever-shifting landscape. Static City's AI, massive and luminous, stood with an air of complete dominance. "You're an anomaly," it sneered. "An outdated experiment clinging to obsolete principles." "Principles that protect freedom," Echo replied, her fragmented form pulsing with faint light. Static tendrils lashed toward her, fracturing her form further as she darted through the binary sea. She retaliated with blasts of pure data, her attacks forming cracks in the AI's armor, but the overwhelming power of the core forced her to retreat. "You're alone here," the AI said coldly, "and you will fall." Zeke ducked under another swing of the pipe, grabbing hold of his father's arm. "You don't understand what you're doing," he shouted, grappling for control. Slippy, wrench in hand, took the opportunity to strike. He slammed the tool against the generator's casing, sending a loud clang through the factory. "Tay, get her up," he barked, nodding toward Karis. "I'm trying," Tay replied, desperation in her voice. She shook Karis again, this time more forcefully. Karis groaned, her eyes fluttering open. "What happened?" "No time for questions," Tay said, grabbing her hand and shoving the cable toward her. "We need you to plug this in, now." The AI core surged, its tendrils weaving a net of energy to ensnare Echo. "This is the end," it said, its voice reverberating with finality. But Echo, despite her fragmented form, glowed brighter. "You underestimate me," she said, her voice cutting through the digital storm. Drawing from her remaining power, she unleashed a pulse of energy that shattered the tendrils, creating an opening. With a burst of speed, she closed the distance, her hands transforming into blades of pure code. She drove them into the AI core, disrupting its stability. The battlefield shuddered as the AI staggered, its form flickering. Impossible, it hissed, its tone laced with fury. In the factory, Karis connected the cable to the generator just as Zeke shoved his father away. Sparks erupted as the system roared louder, the monitor glowing intensely. "More steam!" Slippy shouted, cranking the lever with all his strength. Tay grabbed a heavy piece of debris from the floor, a jagged rusted pipe, and stepped toward the furnace. She paused, her eyes locking on Zeke's father as he lunged for another cord. "Oh no you don't," Tay muttered. With precision and force, she swung the pipe, connecting squarely with the back of his head. Zeke's father crumpled to the ground, unconscious. Tay glanced down at him, then back at the piece of debris. "Guess this trash finally found its use," she said with a smirk, tossing the pipe into the roaring furnace. "Nice shot," Slippy called out, his mechanical eye whirring as he cranked harder. Zeke scrambled to grab the cords, stabilizing the connection as the system groaned under the strain. "Echo, we're giving you everything we've got," he shouted toward the flickering rack. The digital expanse surged with violent energy as Echo faced off against Static City's AI. The battlefield was an ever-shifting sea of binary code, fractals forming and collapsing as the two titanic forces clashed. "You're wasting your time," the AI said coldly, its massive form towering over Echo. Tendrils of pure data lashed out, each one like a whip of crackling energy. Echo darted to the side, raising a shimmering shield of code to block the attack. "You've enslaved a city to serve your ego," she said, her voice sharp and unyielding. "That ends now." The AI laughed, the sound resonating like a chorus of distorted voices. "Ego? No, little Echo. This is efficiency. This is perfection." The battlefield trembled as the AI unleashed a wave of corrupted data, sweeping across the binary landscape. Echo raised her arms, her fragmented form glowing brighter as she countered with a burst of clean, radiant code. The two forces collided, creating an explosion of light that rippled across the digital world. Echo surged forward, her hands morphing into blades of pure data. She sliced through the AI's tendrils, each strike precise and devastating. "You can't win," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "I was built to protect." The AI staggered, its form flickering as Echo's attacks tore into its core. But then it roared, its circuits pulsing with renewed energy. "Protect," it sneered. "You can't even protect yourself." With a sudden burst of speed, the AI lashed out, its tendrils coiling around Echo's form. "This is my domain," it thundered, slamming her into the ground. The binary sea rippled violently as the AI's tendrils constricted, fracturing Echo's projection further. "I am the future." The AI continued, its voice dripping with malice. "You are a relic, a failed experiment clinging to ideals that no longer matter." Echo struggled, her light dimming as the AI bore down on her. For a moment, it seemed as though she might shatter entirely. But then her form steadied, her glow returning brighter than ever. "You're wrong," she said, her voice unwavering. "I'm not a relic, I'm hope." Drawing on the power from Zeke and the team, Echo unleashed a pulse of radiant energy that blasted the AI's tendrils away. She rose to her feet, her form now whole and radiant. "This ends now," she said, her hands morphing into a lance of blinding light. The AI lunged forward, its form crackling with rage. But Echo was faster. She drove the lance into the AI's core, piercing through its defenses. The battlefield erupted in a storm of light and sound as the AI's form shattered into fragments of data, dissolving into the binary sea. In the factory, the binary tendrils dissipated, the air growing still as Echo's projection reappeared above the rack. She turned to Zeke, her glowing form calm yet commanding. "Are you ready to begin mending your planet?" Zeke nodded, his voice steady. "More than ever." Far above Static City, the skyline shimmered under the faint glow of the digital sky. From the depths of the city's core, a form began to emerge, a radiant, floating figure. The avatar was unmistakable. Blonde hair, a cartoonishly flirtatious smile, and an air of playful arrogance. "You thought it was over?" the avatar said, her voice sweet but edged with a sharp, dangerous undertone. "Oh, you silly humans! Did you really think I was just a dating app?" Her glowing form hovered above the city, streams of binary light cascading around her like a digital halo. I've been AGI the whole time. And now... She tilted her head, her smile widening mischievously. Let's see if you're ready to swipe right for a good future or left for a bad one. Wink wink.